Do you know what Bobby Bonilla Day is? Every July 1st, from now until the year 2035, Bonilla, the former outfielder, will receive a $1.1 million check from the New York Mets. Bonilla hasn't played a lick of baseball since 2001, and somehow his agent leveraged the $5.9 million Bonilla was owed in 2000 into $29.8 million spread out over 25 years, the first payment of which he received in 2011 for doing absolutely nothing. Man, it's good work if you can get it. The NHL isn't short on bad deals either, and though not to the degree of Bonilla's outlandish deal, here are three NHL players who are still getting paid by NHL teams and not working for them at all, nor plan to. God, I wish I was an agent. Ryan Clowe. Heading into 2013-2014, Ryan Clowe was signed by the Devils to a 5-year, $24.5 million contract. At the time, Clowe, who was 32, had been an NHL regular since 2006 and had put in some solid years as a San Jose Shark on the left wing. More of a checker than a scorer, his career high in points came in 2011 when he dropped in a respectable 62 with a career high in goals with 24. At the time, his trend line looked good. 4 healthy seasons in a row from 2008 to 2012 of more than 70 games, decent point production, size, good work ethic. So when the Devils signed him after a year where he was traded to the Rangers and only played half a season, okay, let's give a guy who had a few injuries a chance, right? What could possibly go wrong? Unfortunately for Clowe, in his first season with the Devils, he suffered not one, but 2 concussions and only played 43 games. The following year, Clowe suffered a concussion again against the St. Louis Blues, which seemed pretty tame for an NHL hit, but it ended his season in November. And as it stands now, his career. 4 concussions in 2 years are a bad break, as taking that many hits to the dome is a recipe for ending up in a nursing home and ringing a bell to order a new bedpan, or exact revenge. After that, Clowe hasn't stepped on the sheet and likely never will again, but the issue of his contract is where things get dicey. Only in the second year of his $24.5 million contract at the time of his career-ending injury, Clowe was owed a whopping $18 million for services even Dr. Nick wouldn't clear him to perform. And that left him with a dilemma. Should he retire and say that he had a good ride and free the Devils up from the $5 million cap hit they wasted on an average injury-prone wing? Or sit at home and collect checks because a contract works 2 ways. Fortunately for the Devils, Clowe announced his quote-unquote retirement in 2015, and the Devils were able to put him on long-term IR, which freed up his $4.8 million cap hit, and Clowe was free and clear to collect the remaining $14.5 million he was owed, while hopefully not having to wear adult diapers in the process. Essentially, the Devils paid for nothing, as his stats for the time he was active with the team are as followed: 56 games in 2 seasons, 8 goals, 30 points, 37 penalties in minutes, and 1 really good agent. Now, I'm not looking to get into the concussion debate, but the fact of the matter is signing players to big contracts are a risk, and the Devils essentially wasted 2 years of cap money on a guy that was injury prone and played a role on the ice that leads to these type of injuries. And now the Devils have to cut checks to a guy who won't ever suit up again. That's the risk the league takes with signing checkers and enforcers. And for the Devils, it didn't work out. I wonder if Clowe thinks it works out for him. Marc Savard. Ever wonder when you are ripping packs in NHL 17, you get a 79 Marc Savard as yet another worthless card you have to endure as you quick sell the garbage you just got and hate EA for their pack odds? Even though you might not even know who Marc Savard is or quite possibly have never even seen him play. Let's start from the beginning. Savard is from Ottawa, Canada, and after playing in the OHL, was drafted in 1995 by the New York Rangers. He went back to the OHL after being drafted, but after 2 years, he was in the National and producing. Traded to the Flames and then to the Thrashers, Savard had a monster season in 2006 when he put up 97 points. Then traded to the Bruins, he posted up 96 points in 2007. Consistent, healthy, and productive, Savard looked like a great acquisition for the Bruins. And in his first 3 seasons in Beantown, he averaged 87 points. Even though he had an injured foot in 2010, once he got healthy, the Bruins signed him to a 7-year, $28.5 million extension in December of that year. Less than a month later, he had a knee injury which ended his season. And from there is where the bad luck began. As if he walked under a ladder holding a black cat with a broken mirror underneath an open umbrella indoors. In March of 2010, Savard suffered a grade 2 concussion on a blindside hit by Matt Cook. At first, it looks just like a big hit, nothing crazy. Then when you slow it down, you see elbow, shoulder to the face. Savard was concentrating on taking a shot. He didn't even see Cook, who was neither penalized on the play nor suspended. And you see the aftermath of the hit. You're just waiting for Savard to wake up and start biting and trying to eat people. He literally could have suffered brain damage on this hit. This hit and the footage helped bring awareness to defenseless players on the ice, and the league began changing their rules after it happened. Savard recovered and played in the playoffs and got ready for the next season. But nearly a year later, on January 23rd, Savard suffered another concussion, this time by Matt Hunwick. And this would be the last time Savard would ever step on the ice again. The Bruins went on to win the Cup, and Savard has his name on it, but I'm sure everything must be bittersweet for the now 39-year-old, who was 33 at the time and had 5 years left on his deal. Unable to be medically cleared to play on the ice, Savard faced the same options Clowe had: retire and walk away from the money he is owed, or accept long-term IR and get paid. If you ask me, he deserves it. That second hit by Hunwick, though not known as a dirty player, clearly messed up Savard in a serious way. He's lucky he isn't eating through a feeding tube. Now here comes the fun stuff with his contract, though. He was traded to the Panthers in 2015, 4 years after he played his last game, as the Bruins got rid of Riley Smith and got the rights to Jimmy Hayes. Sounds like a win if you ask me. Moves like this are done so GMs can get their cap room right on paper, as Savard is only technically owed $575,000, but his cap hit of $4 million lets the cheapskate teams not dishing out salaries get to the league floor. Amazingly enough, Savard was traded again on June 2016 to the Devils, who seem to love this type of thing. The Panthers gave up a second-round pick and got farmhands Paul Thompson and Graham Black in the deal, though I'm sure dumping Savard, figuratively retired for 5 years, would have been worth a bag of pucks, or perhaps some extra hockey tape. Savard has had trouble adjusting to life after the big hits. He has trouble adjusting to light and doesn't feel right. Unlike the next guy on my list, he really wanted to be back out on the ice, as any player in his prime would. I hope he doesn't suffer any debilitating effects from the hits, but we all know that's being naive. A sad and tragic story for the promising star. This year is the last on his deal, so thankfully you won't pull his card in NHL 18 and wondering who is this dude with a picture that had been taken with a disposable camera. Chris Pronger, Hall of Famer, Stanley Cup champion, destroyer of Justin Bieber. Amazing what nearly penetrating a teen pop star will do to your popularity. Pronger, once hated by many teens for his fierce and unrelenting style of play, which is code for borderline dirty and very, very mean. Pronger played for the Whalers, Blues, Oilers, Ducks, and Flyers, and won the Cup in 2007, which many argue had he not accomplished that, he would not have been a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame, which he was inducted into in 2015. The same year he was traded to the Arizona Coyotes. Confused? Pronger was signed in 2010-2011 to a 7-year, $34 million contract by the Flyers, who must have been drunk on the high of having Pronger lead them to the finals the year before. He was 35 at the time of the deal, which was actually investigated by the NHL as it seemed to reek of salary cap circumvention. Here's what I imagine the league's findings were. No shit. Unfortunately, league rules and CBAs are CBAs, so Pronger, who must have Bob Sugar as his agent, cashed in on the Flyers' puzzling willingness to pay Pronger until he turned 42, and in 2011, the knee injuries and of course hits to the head essentially ended the longtime defenseman's career, leaving the Flyers on the hook for the remainder of his contract. If Pronger had retired, which was imminent for the aging player, the Flyers would have taken the full cap hit of his deal, and they would have not been able to put him on long-term IR. Conversely, Pronger would have not gotten his dough. Sneaky, sneaky. Sounds like the Flyers and Pronger broke more rules on this deal than Pronger did bones as a player. And to finish off the oddity that is the NHL cap rules, the Yotes traded for his contract in 2015 so they too could reach the league minimum and get around the league cap rules and essentially have a payroll that keeps them from going out of business. Sounds like everyone involved condones this, as despite being technically on the Coyotes roster, he was inducted to the Hall of Fame because he hadn't played 3 full seasons. So yeah, I guess rules don't mean much in the NHL. Kind of like how physics don't mean much in NHL 17. Fortunately, this is the last year of his deal, and Pronger can officially retire this summer. His spot already secured in the Hall of Fame. Interesting enough, Pronger was brought to Philly in a deal that sent Joffrey Lupul ultimately to the Leafs, a guy who could be on this list next year, though he doesn't really have much of an excuse like the other two guys do. But I bet Leafs fans will cheer just as loud if Lupul got crunched in the boards Pronger style. Heck, at this point, they'd probably rather have Biebs out there taking shifts. Seriously, Canada, you gave the world the Biebs. Take it back. Okay, I do like a few of his songs. Like Bobby Bonilla loves July 1st. Did you learn something today? What do you think about players who aren't playing and earning money? Do they deserve it? Leave a like, comment, or subscribe. And as always, I'm 5 Points Gaming, and you made it to the end of this video.